And he replied, to know thyself and thy father God Allah. Islam.
Islam.
This is the uniting of Asia. Islam. So what we now will do is commence to the Moorish American prayer. All those who do not wish to participate may stay seated in solid benediction. All those that do, we rise and face the east. We rise with 5 fingers on the left, 2 fingers on the right. Repeat after Sheik El Bey.
Islam.
Islam.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By
By night.
and by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam. We now have the reciting of our divine constitution and bylaws for the Moor Science Temple of America. Also, one of our national standards. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moor Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moor Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moor Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father God Allah. And for that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moor Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all. They may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moor Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the Prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moor Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moor Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Islam.
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 Islam, Morris. It's nothing like opening the meeting with the spirit of Allah and his prophet. And to continue the spirit, I just want to read to us an excerpt from the Moorish Guide, Friday, September 14th, 1928. And this will serve as a mission statement to our organization and what we're here to call to do. It says the Moor Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs. To this desirable end, in time legitimate means, will be bound to dispense charity, provide for the mutual assistance of his members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, and to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moor Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa is concerned. We of the Moor Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill. Whatever our race or creed may be, it is only from a purely religious standpoint that it seems at this time that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings insofar as they can be adopted into the American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed all under the Constitution. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from our greatest plight, which is economic slavery. We believe this can best be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. We welcome into our folds men and women of all groups, all sections, trades, occupation, professions of sound mind and good character. We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It's an excerpt from the Prophet. And I'm going to go right into the questionnaires, Quran questions for Moorish children. Who made you?
Allah.
Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
Can we see him?
No.
Where's the nearest we can meet him? Place we can meet him? Islam.
Islam.
Who is Noble Drew Ali?
He is Allah's prophet.
What is a prophet?
A prophet is the son of Allah manifested in human flesh.
What is an angel?
An angel is the son of Allah manifested in human flesh.
Who was the founder of the Moor Science Temple of America?
Noble Drew Ali.
Where?
Noble New Jersey.
What year?
1913 AD.
Where was he born?
In the state of North Carolina in 1886.
What is your nationality?
Moorish American.
Who was Jesus?
He was the prophet of Allah.
What kind of flag is the Moorish?
It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center.
What do the 5 points represent?
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Which is our holy day?
Friday.
Why?
Because Friday is the day which man was formed in the flesh. It was on Friday when he departed out of the flesh.
Who was his father and mother?
Joseph and Mary.
What was their son name?
Jesus.
What does Jesus mean?
Jesus means justice.
Where do we get that name?
The
From
East.
the east.
What was the nationality of Ruth?
Roots of the Moabites.
What is the modern name for Moabites?
Moroccans.
Where is the Moroccan Empire?
Northwestern Mexico.
What is the modern name for a Mexican?
Africa.
Africa.
What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
What is our prophet to us?
He was the angel of Allah who was sent to bring the everlasting gospel
Of Allah.
What are angels used for?
to carry a message to the four corners of the world and to all nations.
What age did Jesus begin to teach?
At the age of 12,
Where did he teach?
India, Africa, and Europe.
How long did he teach?
18 years.
What did he have reference to?
He had a reference to the end of Satan.
Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No,
Why?
because man is made in the image and the likeness of God Allah.
What does the word Ethiopian mean?
Ethiopia means something divided.
Is the devil made in the image and the likeness of Allah?
No, he is the shadow of our Lord, self, and shall pass away.
Who is Elohim?
Elohim are the seven created spirits who created everything that was, is, and evermore to be.
Then who made the devil?
Elohim.
How many days are in a circle?
7 days.
How many degrees is in a circle?
7 days.
How many degrees is in a circle?
360 degrees.
How many degrees is in a circle?
360 degrees.
Islam. How many days are in creation?
7 days.
How many degrees in a square?
90.
How many what?
360.
Islam.
Yeah, 6 degrees.
How many degrees of an angel?
360 degrees.
No. How many degrees of an angel?
120 degrees.
No.
90 degrees.
How many degrees of an angel?
90 degrees.
What is an angel?
Angel is God of Allah manifested in the flesh.
What is another name for an angel?
Asiatic.
What was last week's lesson?
Angle.
An angle.
Angle.
So how many degrees of an angle?
90.
degrees.
90 degrees. Islam. To whom do we refer to at times as being the great God?
Allah.
Islam. What happened in 1453?
That's when the head of Satan is taken over. Teach, man, shoot.
And who took the head of Satan off?
Muhammad.
Islam. That's going to conclude the questionnaires for today.
Islam.
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 How's everybody feeling?
Bless more.
Islam.
Islam.
Is it too cold in here? Too warm?
That's right.
All right, Islam.
Islam.
And hopefully we're going to raise our vibratory tone today. So it should get a little warmer in here by the end of the meeting.
Islam. Peace.
Islam. Islam. Brother Osman, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, brother.
Praise Allah for you.
Thank you.
Islam.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, Islam. So Islam, Moors, we're just going to give the Moors a chance to get in here today. We have a very tight curriculum for today, Islam, and we've been trying to incorporate different subject matters into our curriculum that's definitely necessary for the growth and development of our people, so that we don't waste too much time and go overboard. We just ask for in the future that all the Moors try to get here promptly according to law, and that way that we give everybody due process and a fair chance
Islam.
to demonstrate and exercise their 5 senses, Islam,
Islam.
and we don't cut anybody short, Islam. So what we're going to do is we have 3 different courses that we're going to do today, and we're not going to do the meditation today, but we hopefully that you can incorporate some of this into your home study. Start doing it at home, and this is what these classes are based for, is to not just do them when we're here, but we take what we learn here and try to apply it to the household. 'Cause that's the first thing that we have to do. We have to get our house in order.
Islam.
So it's better to try to get everyone in the house to practice these principles and live according to these principles, because like the Prophet says, it'll help us get our house in order. We teach these lessons to our little ones. That way they can learn to love instead of hate. Understand? Because if we have hatred at home, then we got a divided house. So we can't let Satan into the home. Islam?
Islam.
Before we get into the Quran class, I just want to demonstrate something that I deem very important, is understanding the object of our organization. The object of our organization is to make our members better citizens. So we got to understand that there's multiple different ways and things that we can do to make our people better citizens, but we have to understand the basics and the foundations of Moorish science. And this is why the Prophet taught us Moorish science, because what it does is it helps us become a better citizen. And not just becoming a better member in the temple or within the organization that you're a part of, but also in the community, in your society, in your local government, in your state government. Because that's what determines, or that's what sets the foundation and the standard for government. You know, so government starts at home. So I can't enough express the importance of getting our house in order, Moors, and just coming over this year's elections. You know, it's just, you know, every area has different representatives now, different electees, and we're going to be going over some of the different counties and who they elected and why, and from a state level, our senators down to our mayors, etc. There's a lot to talk about. You know, we won't be able to get into everything today, but there's some things as a universal group here in New Jersey, our Moors gotta be, we gotta really be in tune with. Because out from your Sunday school, remember, comes the guiders of the nation. So we can't expect proper representation in our nation. And I'm not just talking about within the Moorish American nation, I'm talking about within the American nation. We can't expect proper representation if these people are not coming out the Moorish Science Temple of America.
No.
So we got a mighty work to do here. You know, we got representatives out there making all of these different proposals to change state government, and they're not really on the level. And they have not been contributing to what we need them to do as citizens. But what the problem is, they're claiming to represent us. So that means that whatever their mindset is and whatever their agenda is going to trickle down to us, regardless if we call ourselves Moors or not. What they say and what they do has a strong impact on us, and especially our children. Remember, so we're not just sitting here just like the Prophet said, this is no social organization. So we're not just sitting here to feel good or just talk about some things and feel deep and go home and go back into, you know, Negro land. That's not what we're trying to do here. To Islam. So pay attention to what these Moors got to say. Consider their time they put into their studying, their research, and their courage for standing before you and bringing you this information. And once again, take heed to what they say. Go back and research and investigate what they say. Don't believe what they say, because the Prophet told us about belief. And general opinion is no proof of truth.
No.
So he said man might believe what others say, but he simply don't know. He guess. And that's not our position, Moors. Salam. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the first speaker today. And that will be Assistant Grand Sheik, Clifford Jefferson El Bey. And he will be coming to demonstrate the Quran class. Islam?
Islam.
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 Our God is give praise to the great Father God Allah, orchestrator of all the seven planes of existence. I give honor to thus the Prophet Nabi Ali, founder of the Moorish Science of America, aligned with the Moorish divine natural principles. I give honor to my Grand Sheik, Nature El Bey. I give honor to Chairwoman Sheik Nika Evan Tuna Bey. I give honor to members and staff, as well as all those who are online. We're all trying to get understanding of what it is we are called to do. Islam,
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
How we doing?
Blessed. Great.
We should feel blessed, Moor. We truly should feel blessed. Because Nature Ali said, there's only one way we can receive that which was lost. And it comes only through the connection of Moorish, connection with the Moorish divine national movement. Islam? So, my job here today is teach us instructions on social duty. We've been going on over instructions on social duty for the past couple of weeks now. Islam?
Islam.
And it's important to understand the instructions on social duty, because what the Grand Sheik was talking about, that we get no representation in the community. We get no representation in society. We get no representation in the nation, because we're not beholding our obligation as favorites of the sons of heaven. Islam?
Islam.
So once again, we're going to go back over the lessons that we went through before I deal with the solution that's causing the problem. Like I said in the last week's class, those two solutions are purity and love. And those best two demonstrators of purity and love is John and Jesus. Islam?
Islam.
So we can even get into the person of who John and Jesus was, or the personages of who they represent. So today, this is what we're going to get into, the personages of who they represent. Because we know that Jesus means justice. Islam? And we understand that justice is love. Islam? So we want to go back and go back over the lesson which we talked about with the past couple of weeks, and that first one is chapter 35, which is instructions on religion, which is really our religious aims and beliefs. Islam?
Islam.
We understand that when you go over chapter 35 within the summary of the chapter is talking about the great God Allah, who was the governor of the world. It talks about the law that the great God ordained in nature and all those creatures who serve him. Islam?
Islam.
And it's important to understand that, because within the government that the great God expressed for his creatures, it expressed purity and love. We understand that purity and love is what's needed to save us from the conditions that we have in society, because the prophet said that the problems of life are largely social and economic. Islam? And from a profound sense, they're moral and spiritual. This is the reason why the great God was beautiful when he said, the great God institutes the laws for the government of the world, for having all this being, and each creature by its nature conformist to his will. Islam? So if we go to chapter 29, which is one of the other chapters that we studied, chapter 29 deals with magistrate and subject. Magistrate and subject serve the same position, because you're in the position of rulership, but your job is to be subject to the people. Islam?
Islam.
Because we understand that a government must be expression of the will of the people. And based off chapter 35, being that the great God established government, we understand that the magistrate and subject should be obedient to the will of the great God, Islam. So we read about chapter 29, it said, we are the favorites of heaven, who are the sons who have raised them to be rulers, raised them to sovereign power to be rulers over us. So it said to be, remember the ends and importance of thy trust is more to the height and the dignity of thy station. So those representatives and governments must understand that the trust that they hold based off the people is more than the height and the dignity of their station. So it's our job as citizens to be obedient to instructions on social duty, which is to maintain justice, which is based off purity and love. So now when we go into chapter 30, we deal with instructions on social duty, and we deal with chapter 31, which is instructions on maintaining justice. We understand that the peace in society depends on justice for the happiness of the individual and the safe enjoyment of all their possessions. This is what the great God intended for us to have in chapter 35. This is what intended that the representatives of government, who are what? The statesmen and the rulers that we speak about in chapter 43, and the insufficiency of knowledge. This is what they're talking about. They have an obligation based off us raising them to sovereign power to rule over us. Because we are the favorites of heaven, who are the sons of God. Islam? Give me 1 second. It's important to understand our obligation. And the obligation is to be studious to the great God's laws. So apparently we don't have these instructions on society. Why is that? Because we have failed on the duty and the obligation that the great God had caused us to do. So now when we go in and read chapter 43, chapter 3 explains all this because it talks about the insufficiency of knowledge. But we're not going to go through the chapter right now because we're going to deal with purity and love. Purity and love. And purity and love is so important because this is what the government, this is what society is based on. So when we go back into the education, because the education is the knowledge, we have to go into the person who taught Jesus these degrees. Who taught Jesus? Elihu and Salome. And who they taught? They taught Mary and Elizabeth. Now my grand Sheik always say that you can tell a lot by the title. Right? You can tell a lot about the title. So when you look at the title of the education of Mary and Elizabeth, you got to understand that who's teaching them. Now when you bring up the word Elihu, the word Elihu is derived with the two words El and Hu, which is one of the surnames of the Moorish American, El. Islam? El means Lord. And then you deal with Hu. Hu means creative force of will. So that means that the Lord's creative force, because chapter 7, Jesus speaks about that will. What is will? Will is the force of Allah and is omnipotent. Empowers that will and manifests directed by what? Holy breath. And what is holy breath? Truth. So we understand that if Jesus got these degrees, and he received these degrees from his mother, then you got to go into the understanding of what the names of the mothers meant. So going to the medical physical of the word Mary means womb. And you look at the word Elizabeth means house of flesh. So when you break that down, that means that the Lord's will was being taught to them through the womb to develop the growth of the flesh as it goes on, its existence on the plane of things made manifest. So what they truly were receiving was knowledge of self. Islam? They were receiving knowledge of self. So now let's go and break this down. Let's go to chapter 2. Education of Mary and Elizabeth. And we're going to read a couple of these chapters. And within it, we're going to see the purpose for us and instructions on social duty. Because remember, the peace in society depends upon justice. And justice only comes through equality. And equality has to be based off purity and love. Islam? Because chapter 31 says the peace in society depends upon justice for the happiness of the individual and the safe enjoyment of all their possessions. Therefore, keep thy hearts within the bound of moderation, and let the what? Hand of justice lead thee right. So now, chapter 2, education of Mary Elizabeth. Follow along, Moors. It says, Elihu said to Mary Elizabeth, you may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock and a sure foundation stone on which the temple of perfected man should rest. A temple that should never be destroyed. We measure time by cycles of ages. And the gate to every age we deem a milestone and the journey of a race. An age has passed. The gate unto another age flies open at the age touch of time. This is the preparation age of the soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. So we know that Jesus, we understand that Mary Elizabeth was educated about the two long promised sons in their wombs. And they're supposed to issue in the age of Emmanuel, Allah and man. Because when Allah speaks, he speaks through man so man can comprehend. Islam?
Islam.
Verse 14. It says, and these your sons will be the first to tell the news and to teach the gospel of goodwill and peace on earth. He said the mighty work is theirs. We're still talking about chapter 31, instructions on social duty. In regards to chapter 35, the way the great God intended us to do it. We have to go back through ages to get the lessons, because the prophet said the remedy for the days of the past is the same for the remedies of the day, all pivoting love. Love for humanity. That only comes through purity. So John had to pave the way. Purity. So we as members of humanity must be pure. We must be upright. This is why Jesus had to be taught these degrees by their mother. And they were taught by Elihu and Shalom. Verse 15. He said, mighty work is theirs for carnal men, men of flesh, one not to light. They love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. Which means they don't have that knowledge, right? The knowledge that they have is insufficient because they're not comprehending the light, even though the light shines in the darkness. 17, and you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their mission to the sons of men. Islam? Their mission. Magistrate the subject. Remember, the height and dignity of thy station is more, is less than what's been placed upon you, which is that trust that the citizens, the favorites of heavens, have appointed you to rule over them. And to be based off love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Verse 19. 18, let's go to 18. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah. Debase himself. Teach them that holy breath, which is truth, will make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. That nothing can make them one but love. That Allah so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh, that man may comprehend. He said that he clothes his man in flesh that man can comprehend. If we read chapter 29, verse 2, it said, thou art who clothed in purple. Thou art clothed in purple. You have been crowned with majesty as rulerships. We don't understand the obligation that has been placed upon us as the favorites of heaven, based off chapter 35, based off your moral and spiritual standings. It said nothing can make them one but love. That Allah so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh. We understand that what is man is what? Breast made flesh. Truth or falsehood is conjoined in him, and they strive. Naught goes down, and man as truth abides. We're going to see how that's going to manifest. Verse 21. The only Savior of the world is love. In Jesus, Son of Mary, Son of the womb, come to manifest that love to men. Now love cannot manifest until its way have been prepared. And none can rend the rock and bring down the lofty hills and fill the valley up, and thus prepare the way for purity. But purity in life men do not comprehend. And so it too must come in flesh. And you, Elizabeth, are blessed because yours is purity made flesh. And he shall pave the way for love. This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love. But none of the words is lost, for in the book of Allah remembrance a registry is made of every thought and word and deed. And when the word is ready, and when the world, when the community, when society, when the government is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open the book and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. Then every man on earth will read the words of life in his language of his native land, and men will see the light, walk in the light, and be in the light. And man again will be at one with Allah. Islam?
Islam.
So isn't that what we read in chapter 35? When the great God said, he said, but thee hath he distinguished with peculiar favor, and exalted thy station above all creatures. But thee hath he endued thee with reason, to maintain thy dominion, Has he fitted thee with a language to improve thy society, and started thy mind with powers of meditation to contemplate and adore his immutable perfections? We just read that, Islam.
Islam.
We just read that. So we understand that the lesson that Jesus and John received from their mother, Mary Elizabeth, was none other than divine teachings. Divine teachings, what you have is divine teachings. This is why John was telling that we have to know which way the master went. This is why he's telling us this. So we understand that if Jesus, Mary and Elizabeth was taught by Eliel Shalom, and they were taught about purity and love, let's go into a little deeper understanding about purity and love. Because purity and love only deal with one frequency, the higher self, Islam.
Islam.
We're going to see what Eliel has to say. Now, don't look at the physical person of Eliel, because man is not the body nor the soul. He's spirit and the part of Allah. And the higher self is the human spirit clothed in soul made in the form of Allah. Islam?
Islam.
I'm not saying that. This is what the prophet said, that Jesus said in our Holy Quran, which is our moral spiritual standards. Islam?
Islam.
Let's go to chapter 3 real quick. And these are the lessons on the unity of life. Again, Elihu met his people, his citizens, family, friends, foes alike. He met them in the sacred grove and said, no man leaves unto himself. For every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Remember, instruction on social duty. The problems of life are largely social and economic from a profound sense. They are moral and spiritual. It says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. 4. They will not do to other men what they will not have other men do unto them. 5. There are two selves, the higher self and the lower self. The higher self is the human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower self, the carnal self, the body of desires, it is a reflection of the higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. Now remember, what does the one say? What people represents the higher self?
The angels who protect the Holy City of Mecca.
What people represents the higher self?
The angels who protect the Holy City of Mecca.
What people represents the lower self?
Those who are cast out of the Holy City and those that touch his teaching.
What is the higher self?
The high self, the virtues and light, the light is precepts and right.
What's the higher self?
The high self, the mother virtues and harmonies of life that precepts and love and right.
What does the lower self breathe?
They utilize the rules and murders, theft, and everything harm.
Is that purity and love? What is purity and love? What the higher self breathes, Islam? Islam. That's what man is. That's purity and love. It says, verse 8. It says, the lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is a lying man and will not pass away. The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self is truth reversed, and so is falsehood manifested. The higher self is justice. Remember, the peace in society depends upon justice for the happiness of the individual and the safe enjoyment of all their possessions. Islam? Instructions on social duty. Before thou consider thy once, behold thy imperfections, O son of humanity, who honored thee with humanity, and placed thee into society to receive reciprocal help and mutual obligations, protections from injuries, the comforts and the pleasures of this life, all that thou owest to the assistance of others, and cannot enjoy them but within the band of societies. So therefore is thy friend to be therefore is thy interest to be a friend unto others. Let me read it. It's thy duty to be a friend unto others, as it is their interest to be a friend unto thee. Islam?
Islam.
We just read that in unity of life. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, loses, murder, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is the mother of virtues, the harmonious of life. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasures, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. It gives men apples that are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their core are full of bitterness and gall. If you would ask me what to study, I would say yourselves. And you will when we have studied then, and then ask me what to study next, I will reply, yourselves. He who knows well his lower self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that will pass away. And he who knows his higher self knows a lot, knows well the things that cannot pass away. Verse 16. Thrice blessed is the man who have made what? Purity and love his very own, and he has been ransomed from the pearls of the lower self, and is himself his higher self. Now you see why Jesus and John represent purity and love? Because they have been ransomed from the pearls of the lower self. They have been taught these degrees. So they understand their obligation for their instruction in society based off chapter 35. So in understanding that we as children of God, in order to receive love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which only comes through due process, we must maintain justice. Because like the prophet said in chapter 2, he said, when the world is ready to receive, Lord, allow us to the messenger to open the book and copy from the sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. That every man on earth will read the words of the language, words of life and language of his native land, and men will see the light, walk in the light, and be of the light. And man again will be at one with Allah. Now that none other than expression of the Constitution. When those men got together and formulated that document, one of the greatest documents of all time, United States Constitution of America, that was men of flesh. Men of flesh. But they understand that they had two selves. So the standards or the moral spiritual principles that was based off had to be that of the higher self. Islam?
Islam.
Because he understand that the peace of society depended upon that. So when they established that great document, the Constitution, they established the checks and balances. And based off those checks and balances, they made sure that those checks and balances would be called substantial rights, are there to protect the citizens' God-given rights. So this is the reason why we must maintain justice, based off maintaining what justice really represents. It represents purity and love. So when we read about John's life, when we read about Jesus' life, we see how they were obligated to the trust that was placed upon them, where they were demonstrating that. They didn't just take this message in vain. They was arguing with the doctors of the law. They were arguing with the extortioners. They was arguing with those who made the laws. We understand when we read chapter 43, verse 1, 2, and 3, we see what the statesmen and the rulers are doing. We see this. It says, how many evil have been committed by the connivance of the law? How many crimes decreed by the council? Just because they don't have this knowledge. The statesmen and rulers surely don't have it. Verse 13 of that same chapter says, how insufficiently and vainly you are in the maintenance of justice. How would you come to the knowledge of truth? How would you arrive at her throne? This only comes through purity and love. Purity and love. Let's see this unfoldment of purity and love. Let's see it in John. Let's turn to verse chapter 14. You're going to see John's demonstration. He understands his obligation to instruction on social duties. He understands his obligation to maintain injustice, chapter 31. He understands that his obligation to chapter 29, him being a magistrate and a subject. Because we are the favorites of heavens. We're supposed to be running God's government. He understands his obligation in chapter 35. the way God institutes the laws for the governments of the world. He understands that he, as one of God's created beings, was established distinct behind all other creatures. He understands that. The problem is we don't understand that in this day and time. Because the remedy for the days of the past is the same as the remedy for today. Love. And the only way love can be manifested is to maintain that justice. Chapter 14. It says, verse 8, behold, the king has come. Parts up. Let's go to verse 5. It says, when John was 30 years of age, he went into Jerusalem. And in the marketplace, and he sat in silence 7 days. The common people and the priests, the scribes, and the Pharisees came out in the multitudes to see the silent hermit of the hills. But none were bold enough to ask him who he was. But when his silent path was done, he stood before in the midst of all and said, behold, the king has come. He said, the prophets have told of him. The wise men long to have looked for him. He said, prepare, O Israel. Prepare to meet your king. And that was all he said. And then he disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. Verse 11. And there was a great unrest throughout all Jerusalem. It says the rulers heard the stories of the hermits of the hills. And they sent couriers forth to talk with him that they might know about the coming king. But they could not find him not. And after certain days he came again into the marketplace. And all the cities came to hear him speak. He said, be not disturbed, you rulers of the state. Remember, think about chapter 43. These statesmen and rulers. Listen to what he's saying. He's saying, the coming king is no antagonistic. He seeks no place on an earthly throne. He says, the eyes of men shall see it not, and none can enter but the pure in heart. So when we read chapter 43, the rulers and the statesmen, they don't see the king or what the king stood for. They don't see it. But still they claim the praise and the power of it. See, this is our job to teach the people that the power is in the people. We have the power. But in order for us to enforce that power, we must take our place amongst the affairs of men. Because right now we're dormant. Our voices are not being heard. We've been speaking love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice since the 1800s. And we still have not received them. Under the name of peace and love. Of purity and love. But look how we going. Look who we are going to for the upholdment of that purity and love. Based off justice. We should be going to the magistrated subject. But they're doing it according to what they're doing in chapter 43. I want to go to this chapter right quick because there's a verse in that chapter which is profound. Because going back to religious aims and moral standards. I think it's verse 27. It says, actually no, it's chapter 43. Verse 21. It said, without seest thy insufficiency more plainly. It said, view at thy devotion. To what end was religion instituted? But to teach thee thy own infirmities. To remind thee that at thy weakness, to show thee that from heaven alone art thou to hope for good. Does it not remind thee that thou art dust? Does it not tell thee that thou art ashes? And behold, repentance is not frailty. Let's go to verse 23. So when thou givest an oath, when thou swearest thou wilt not deceive, behold, it spreadeth shame upon thy face, upon the face of him that receives it. Learn to be just, and repentance may be forgotten. Learn to be honest, and oaths are unnecessary. This is what purity and love does to us. Because you're obligated, based off you being a child of the Creator, to uphold that trust has been placed upon you. Because the great God is not worried about any stations of men. He's not worried about that. When he established his divine kingdom, he was not worried about any stations. So remember, when he said, thou favorites of heaven, who thy sons of equal have raised these in sovereign power to rule over thee, he said, remember the ends and importance of thy trust is more than the height and the dignity of thy station. The great God reiterated that. He reiterated that point. Let's go there. Chapter 35. It says, Allah is just and will judge the earth with equity and truth. Has he established his laws in goodness and mercy, and he shall not punish the transgressor thereof. O think not, bold men, because thy punishment is delayed, that the arm of Allah is weakened. Neither flatter thyself with the hope that he winketh at thy doing. His eyes pierce the secrets of every heart, and he remembers them forever. He respecteth not the persons or the stations of men. The high and the low, the rich and the poor, the wise and the ignorant. When the soul has shaken off the cumbersome shackles of this mortal life, shall equally receive from a sentence of the just and everlasting retribution according to their works. Then shall the wicked tremble and be afraid, but the heart of the righteous shall rejoice in his judgment. O fear Allah, therefore, all the days of thy life, and walk in the path which he hath opened before thee. Let prudence admonish thee, let temperance restrain, let justice guide thy hand, benevolence warm thy heart, and gratitude to heaven inspire thee with devotion. These shall give thee happiness in thy present state, and bring to thee to the mansions of eternal facility in thy paradise of Allah. This is the true economy of human life. So now we see why John was demonstrating like he was. This is why we should demonstrate like John was demonstrating. Because we understand that it's our obligation. Because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice depends upon that. So the Holy Quran, Circle 7, is a guide. It's instructions. It's a manual that's needed to receive that which the great God said belongs to you. We are the children of God. We are the children of the higher self. But the prophet said, from the womb of our mother we were embarrassing and wavering, and from the loins of our fathers we inherit our instability. So how then can we be strong? But this is what we're being taught. He said, they who gave their body furnished with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with resolution. Armed thee with resolution. Let's go a little bit into that right quick, because I only got a couple minutes. Let's turn to chapter 36. Because the end result of what Mary and Elizabeth received was knowledge of self. They received knowledge of self. Even in the chapter of education of Mary and Elizabeth, it said, receive knowledge of self. Let's go into this knowledge of self and the instructions on knowing thyself. It says, weak and ignorant as thou art, O man, humble as thou oughtest to be, O child of the dust. But thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom. But thou see omnipotence displayed before thee. Contemplate thy frame. Fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Praise therefore thy Creator with awe, and rejoice before him with reverence. This is all going back to chapter 35. Open your minds, Moors. This is going back to chapter 35. It says, wherefore all creatures art thou only erect, but that thou should behold his works. Wherefore art thou to behold, that thou mayest admire them. Wherefore to admire, but thou mayest adore there in thy Creator. Verse 4. Wherefore is consciousness reposed on thee alone? And whence is it derived to thee? It is not in the flesh to think. It is not in bones to reason. Verse 6. Something is added unto thee unlike what thou seest. Something informs the clay, hides in all the objects of thy senses. Behold, what is it? This is the reason why John say, This is those who are antagonistic. The king sits for the earthly throne. And the eyes of men cannot see this. We got to see with the eyes of soul. Become your higher self, Moors. Understand your obligation to and your instructions on maintaining society. This can only be done through maintaining justice, which is the highest form of justice in this land is the Constitution, which was created based off the higher self, based off the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And with that, I say Islam.
Islam.
So that I bring forth Islam.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Islam. Moving right along, we're gonna go into the next speaker. I'm gonna bring forth. There you go, Brother Emmanuel. All right. Islam.
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 Islam. So, just to camel back off of the Quran class we heard so far, is if you want to know, the Quran class is the first particular class that we do because according to law, that's what we have to do. We open it up according to the Circle 7, and we're going to go into Circle 7's teachings of the Quran, that is, the Moor Science Temple of America. Islam, and although that everything we speak is in harmony and is the Circle 7, just so that we can keep in line with the structure and the curriculum of the Moor Science Temple, we would like to start off with the Quran. So once again, try to program yourselves for when you come to the temple, you'll know exactly what's going on and what we're going to actually be attending to. Islam. So I'm going to call forth the next speaker, Temple of Emmanuel. Islam.
Islam.
Give them your undivided attention. Islam.
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 Arise, give praise to Allah, honor to Nature El Bey, honor to the flag, honor to universal law, the principles, honor to the children, honor to everybody in attendance today. Islam.
Islam.
Honor to you. Raise it all if you need. Should I pick it down a little bit?
Islam. My
Islam.
lesson is going to be based on grammar, language. It's going to be dealing with, the Spanish language. The Prophet said that the Spanish language is the language that we should most learn. Why they say that? Well, you could say that, well, most of the people in Americas speak the Spanish language. That could be the reason. But there's a lot of keys in the Spanish language that you will miss. And we're going to be going into that. We're going to be breaking down words. You're going to be able to see what's been hidden in the language. It's going to be easy for you to follow because it uses the same characters as the English language. So it's not going to be difficult at all for you to follow. So hopefully that it will be, you'll be able to learn something and it will be interesting for you to see. And so with that, I'm going to get started. First, I'm going to read a little bit, not too much, but a little history on the Spanish language. Now, it will say that Spanish language is a mixture of Latin, Arabic. You had different people in that area that were colonized the area, which was called the Iberian Peninsula before it was called Spain and Portugal. So you had the Phoenicians who established Carthage, and you had the Celts, Iberians, Of course, I mentioned Latin, Arabic. There's approximately 4,000 words, 4,000 Arabic words in the Spanish language, but it's mostly based off Latin language, but it's not based off the classical Latin language. It's what they call vulgar Latin, because it was mixed with different languages and stuff. So that's what they label it vulgar. We know that the what we call law, like Black's Law Dictionary, is based on the Latin language. You know, a lot of the terms and stuff. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Islam.
Isn't there an expression, stop speaking so vulgar?
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, since it was mixed, since it was mixed with different languages, then it became, I guess, they would consider it's not pure. It's not the pure Latin language anymore because it was mixed. Islam. So I will get started first. First word is nationality, which in Spanish is nacionalidad, which the root word is nacer, which means to be born. And this says lugar de nacimiento, which means just place of birth. So right off the bat, you can see that the nationality of someone is just a person just becoming into the flesh. So the nationality is based off who do you come from, basically. Like who is your mother and your father. In the Spanish language, it translates to that. It means to be born. So you're born out of your mother. So that's part of your, whatever nationality your mother is, what's your nationality. Pretty simple, right? Now it says here, place of birth is lugar de nacimiento. So even when we're dealing with a location of birth, is related to nationality. So wherever you're born, you're supposed to hold allegiance to wherever you're born. It sounds simple, but a lot of people, we don't understand this. That's what the prophet said. Got to bring you back into the constitutional fold of government. Because if you're not, then it's kind of like saying, well, if you're not holding allegiance to where you're born, why are you even there, right? Isn't it common sense? Wouldn't it make common sense? If you don't have any allegiance to the government, why be there, right? So you see that all this is related. Birth, to be born, where you're born, is all related to nationality in the Spanish language. Now you see in the English language, birth is a different word from nationality. So you won't be able to make the connection. But in the Spanish language, it's connected. It's together. It's the same word. So this is, I just wanted to, bring that to the forefront so you guys can make the connection. Anybody have any questions on that before I go to the next subject? Something I wanted to add. I know in Peru. I don't know about the other countries. When someone's born there, they receive both surnames of the parents. And the mother's surname goes at the end. So you have both your father's and mother's surname, but the mother's goes at the end because she gave birth to you. You know, so it's still all related with nationality. Who gave birth to you? There's a Spanish word. It's called jura, or sometimes it's added the L and the O. Juralo, which legally it means a pledge or oath. But normal people use this word. If you tell somebody, you promise somebody something, right? They'll say juralo, which means you're making an oath, you're making a pledge. So this is word that normal people use in normal conversations. So what word do you see in there? English word. Jury, right? Jury. Juror. Judge, maybe?
The jury, like the jury.
Yeah.
How was that spelled? Who
J-U-R-A.
Jura. Jurisdiction?
Jurisprudence.
Teach, Lord.
Jurisprudence?
De jure.
I have the juror up there.
Teach.
This is a word that people just use. They might not even understand. People who don't study law won't be able to make the connection. But when you hear this stuff, you know, jurisdiction, jurisprudence, sui juris, right? Sui juris.
Go ahead, one, two.
Something I wanted to touch on. Jurisdiction. We got you. So let's say you're a part of a jury. What is your job? Your job is to tell the truth, right? You're on a case, right? And they want you to find the truth. You know, so you're making an oath or a pledge to tell the truth. If you're a part of the jury. The judge too, right? Are we going to even add justice, maybe? Justice. The judge and the jury are supposed to make an oath or a pledge to tell the truth. Jurisdiction. I want to go into this word. So we can kind of put that juror could mean also truth, right? So truth. If I wanted to break this down from a Spanish word, not just from like a etymology, let's look it up, just from Spanish. Jurors would mean truth, dictionary words. Just in a sense. Jurisdiction has different meanings, but just in a sense, somebody claiming jurisdiction, meaning you exchange words with the person, and what they're saying is truth. So if you're challenging their jurisdiction, you're challenging their words of what you're saying, what they're making like basically a false claim if you're challenging the jurisdiction. Just from a Spanish sense, you know, jurisdiction, words, or if you can even say dictate, diction, dictate would mean that you're trying to tell somebody to do something. So, do they have a right to tell you what you should do? You know, I'm just
Or they telling you to do something that's right.
right. Yes. Now, do they have the right to tell you that though? That's kind of like I said, it's different definitions of jurisdiction. But I'm just just breaking the word down to what it could mean in Spanish. You know. So I thought definitely that was very interesting. Of course, you know, when we always talk about jurisdiction, you know, we always mention that word. You know, so. Anybody have any questions on that?
Figures on your hand.
I'm gonna do the days of the week. This is gonna be interesting. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday don't might not have much meaning, but in Spanish, you're gonna say it. Hope I have my space. All right. What sticks out of the days of the week? Which day?
Yeah.
No, which of the days stick out?
Wednesday.
No,
Sunday.
Sunday. Sunday. Oh,
You miss
okay, you
Friday.
know.
You miss Friday.
I miss Friday.
I'm gonna miss the whole day.
Okay.
And you can put Sunday first.
That's the first
For the
day of the
Monday.
week.
Okay.
Yep. It happened according to.
Right, that's the first day of the week.
Now, you said Sunday sticks out, right? Because it has sun, right? Spanish.
Planets.
Now we have exactly.
The planets.
It's a planet, yeah, like you said.
Those are the planets.
Like you have a lunar eclipse. This would be moon, lunar, moon. Of course, we know what Sunday is. Sun. What's Martes?
Mars.
Mars. Mercury. Jueves. Jupiter. He said Jupiter. Should know. Everybody should know this one.
Venus.
And it's in
And
Saturn.
Saturn.
Sabado.
Now this Domingo, I'm thinking it was some priest who wanted to put his name on one of the days. That's what I'm thinking. Because you have a place in
Domingo, right.
Yeah.
Dominican Republic. It's called Santo Domingo.
Right.
So it's Saint Domingo.
Right.
So I figure he put his name on the day.
What day would that be?
Sunday.
Sunday.
It's Domingo. Yes. So if you translate it in Spanish, it all goes to the planets.
Right.
They're all the days of the planets. Now
Right.
I didn't even pay attention to this until recently. You know, Luna is. I don't even know if my parents might even know what the days mean. You know, but it's like more science will put that in your consciousness where you wanna, it will open you up, and then you'll start to see
That's the
certain things.
zodiac.
Exactly.
Astrology.
7 days of the week. How many days are in the circle?
7 days.
Days in the year.
7 days. Days of creation, 7 days.
Are these the 7 ruling planets? I'm not sure.
Yes,
Would
they
they
are.
be?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You have 7 ruling and 12 governing.
What zodiac signs are those?
Mars,
Leo, Gemini,
I wouldn't know that. So.
Yeah, what's
Somebody will have to tell me. I'll put it down.
Leo, Mars is Aries. Mars
Okay, the sun is
That's
Leo.
Sun is Leo.
Moon.
Moon is this the
Jupiter. No.
We taught the class
Gemini.
last week.
Mars.
Gemini.
Moon is
Because
not
it's Aries, Gemini. Aries, Gemini.
Mars is Aries.
Scorpio as well.
And Scorpio, yes, dual. Venus is Taurus.
Taurus. Saturn. Capricorn.
No, Capricorn.
Saturn.
Mercury is Gemini. But it's dual.
Jupiter, I think, is
Right.
Sagittarius.
And Jupiter, Sagittarius,
Sagittarius.
Taurus, and Libra under Venus. Libra also.
Yeah.
And, Mercury is Gemini and
Virgo, can't forget Virgo.
Virgo.
The Virgo.
All right, so this is how they come up with. I'm thinking like this is how they do the horoscope and stuff. I guess.
Like, I mean, somewhat.
Somewhere.
Probably. What would the moon be? What zodiac sign would the moon be? I don't think it is a zodiac sign.
It is.
We missing
Yeah.
You're missing the
There you go.
opposites.
Aquarius.
Right, there is a few of them, right? You can't,
So we missing some Pisces,
Trying to do. Put the sign with the planets.
Good.
Oh.
Cancer.
Cancer is the moon.
You gotta put all the
Yeah,
signs.
yeah,
first.
Cancer
Cancer.
is the moon.
Yes. Yeah, Cancer. Okay, now you gotta have Aquarius. You got Aquarius.
Where would that go?
Aquarius.
Aquarius is
Would that be the moon?
air
It's after
sign.
Sagittarius. Aquarius.
Aquarius is an air sign.
You got 12 houses.
Anyway,
We missing.
anybody have any questions? No, we don't have
We
any.
missing Aquarius and Pisces.
Okay.
Some of them
First
are
of
full
all,
the-
hold up. First
like
of all,
full
upon self. The first of all, the head is the moon is Aries. That's the first house. That's the 30 degrees.
That's moon.
Moon is what?
That's moon in Aries.
The moon is in right moon in
Moon
Aries.
is-
Strike that. But it has it in
Well,
there.
you know,
It has it,
okay.
has it all in
You
there.
should,
I just wanted to add, we just had a full moon in Taurus and Scorpio.
Yeah, the few schools.
2 days ago, a couple of days ago.
Pillars of each
Yeah.
other.
So,
I just wanted y'all to see the planets in the days of the week.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
we'll move on next.
Islam.
Islam.
It's just beautiful to see it within Spanish because you understand that the Spaniards Spain was actually occupied by the Moors. So it just shows you how that's our science. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different language.
And we spoke the language.
We spoke that language.
We taught the
Because
language.
they're known as Puerto Ricans, but they speak Spaniards. That's like a contradiction. Spaniards are from Spain. Spaniards speak Spanish. Puerto Ricans don't speak Spanish. So it shows you that they themselves have something that's wrong.
Islam.
Islam.
The title, Bey. I don't know of any word of Bey, but there are words related to Bey that are in the Spanish language.
Day.
they live.
Anybody knows these words mean?
lay law, lay sun,
No. Ray is law. Lay is law.
Ray is light or king, yeah.
You get lay, which is the law, and Ray, which is king. These are common words in Spanish. There's no Bey. I never heard of it. There's Bey, the surname, but not as a word that people use.
It's a title. I assume. Title.
So what would these words have to do with Bey?
Islam.
Why would they be in the Spanish language?
Islam.
Islam.
Based off me looking at it, you know, the word Bey and Ray describes the characteristics of Bey, because Bey means governor, and as a governor, the governor's job is to be ruler and rule within the law.
Islam.
So,
See? Yeah. This will tell you how they
Pass that.
Hmm?
Did he pass that?
You also
No,
have
I'm just saying. I mean,
this English word,
it's not now.
obey. It's a word that we use today. Obey what? How? What is? What's
obey the law.
right? You said obey the law. Is a term that you might see. On TV. Obey the traffic signals or something, you know. So, see, obey. You got law, man. You have to make the connections, you know. So, thought that was very interesting, especially when you go back into Al-Andalus, the Moors, where they were ruling at that time. They were the ones who were making the laws. They were the ones who were, they were kings, right? They were the kings, right? They made the laws. So. Very interesting, right? Islam.
No, may I also add that when you're looking at how you spell Bey, then you got Lay and Ray, you're looking at the same word, it's just different tones.
Yeah.
And even Bey is a Latin word. The surname Bey is a Latin derivative.
Yeah.
And over certain generations and centuries, the way they pronounce their words vary. And even in different lands today, even in different Spanish languages, they speak different forms and derivatives of Latin like you spoke about. And all of them, according to what land that they're in, will pronounce it different. But it's actually the same word.
Yeah.
The same
Right.
word.
And also, I've heard that in ancient languages, it wasn't the vowels that were exchanged, it was the consonants that were changed. So the different letters changed, but like I said, it was the same word.
It has the same sound, you know. Now, something I found out about the Taínos. Anybody know about the Taínos?
Well, those are the so-called Puerto Ricans.
Right.
They're not Puerto Ricans. They are Taínos.
And that's right.
They are Boricuas from the land of Borique. Taínos.
There's a deity, which they call the supreme. It's called the supreme deity. Is always as a feminine form, which is related to this. You can look this up. Out of Bey is a deity of the Taínos, and what that translates to is Mother Earth. You can look it up. And I thought it was like,
That's so true.
Islam.
you know, when I found that out, I was puzzled, you know what I mean? Like,
And the root of that word, you say Taínos.
right.
Right? Ta means earth, and Enos means remember. So remember the earth.
Okay.
right.
The Enos is I think that's Hebrew come from the Hebrew dialect.
They're from the Phoenicians.
Phoenician, because Enos means remembrance.
Part of the what?
So,
The soul? Okay. Very interesting is a lot of people who consider themselves
Taínos.
Taínos, they will tell you they're not Puerto Rican.
Exactly.
They're
Exactly.
Taínos.
They will be insulted if you call them that.
Or
I
they
came
might
up
say-
with a lot of the Boricuas who did not.
Or they might say they're Boricuan.
Yeah.
They're not Puerto Ricans.
say Boricuas.
Right. Yes.
Boricuas.
hmm So I thought, like, what is the connection between the Taínos, the Beys, you know, trying to piece it all together, you know? Because chapter 47 speaks about the dominion of inhabitation of the Moors, of the Moabites. So, just something to keep in mind. Something else I wanted to touch upon. Anybody have any questions thus far? So I have L and Al. L translates to how people use in Spanish.
The.
The or he.
Yeah.
Al people use as to. You have Ella, what would mean she. And we use L and Al. But in Spanish language, they also use L and Al as part of the language of how they speak. You know, you going somewhere, you will say you're going to L, such and such. You know,
Okay, please do that.
so this is all part of the language that became, like I said, the Arabic words became a part of the so-called Spanish language. We have a word in Spanish, ojalá, which means hope. But it comes from
Inshallah.
inshallah. So the word for hope in Spanish is ojalá, but it comes from inshallah. So what does inshallah mean? Like God willing.
Yeah, God's willing.
God willing, right? So just goes to show you, a lot of people, I don't even know that.
Islam
Yes, sir.
also, by which is the fact that you break it down words. If you notice in the Hebrew tongue, the word how, Bey of El, is also pronounced, it's spelled B-E-T-H-E-L, but before it was spelled B-E-Y-E-L. So it just shows you that's the word Bey. They have the word Bey in it.
Now I did mention that the Spanish language was influenced by Phoenician. You know, there was Phoenicians, Carthaginians were in that area. You know, and all these people influenced the language.
Yes.
What is, I asked you because you know you always speak about it, what is the Phoenician language made out of?
Phoenician, the first language is considered Canaanite language.
Canaanite language, right?
And also that Canaanite language, because you notice all the bloodline came, or brothers of the since the ancient Moabite, because you notice that Jesus was amongst the what they call the Essenes, who were in the Gedi Hills, which is on the plains of the land of Jordan, which is in the Moabite land. Which it shows us that's all our history. Islam.
Islam. Yes,
That word El means it's masculine though, right? In the Spanish language. Like
Yes.
El Dia,
yes.
and then Al.
Or the
would-
too.
Like Al Tardia would be feminine, right?
Ella.
No, Tardies. What, like one after Tardies, afternoon?
Yeah.
Right after the afternoon. But it'd be female.
Oh, La. You talking about L.A.
Oh, La.
Okay, okay.
Thank
L.A.
you.
L.A.
Thank
L.A. Yes, yes.
Yeah, La.
Right.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. Anybody have any questions or comments?
This is great.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to show y'all, you know, a few things of what I've been able to make connections with the Spanish language or how it relates to, you know, more science, jurisprudence, you know, so I hope y'all found it, enlightening.
Very good.
It's
So,
love.
Yes, Islam.
yes.
Coming back on what you said, reading that information last night about the Canaanites, we started that whole alphabet piece. And we talked about commonalities, common versus the vowel. It was actually Syrian spelled with the Z as his first son, but then the Greeks came in and changed it to S. Syrian.
So it's like I said, man, we have a profound history, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, we have to see the truth in it, you know what I'm saying? And the only way you can see the truth is that you have to be upright, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the information in regards to more science is insufficient knowledge, because it's only in superseding economic power.
Right.
You notice at the end of chapter 35, chapter on religion, it says this is the sense of a proper, known as economic security, which is going back to the moral standing, the principles in which you stand in. That's right.
Islam. One more. Moral. All right. You got the word morado in Spanish. Means purple.
Peace, Mo.
Marrón is brown. Maroon, I just put that up there just so you can make the connections between marrón and maroon. You heard about the Maroons in Jamaica and stuff. Morale is French. Now my friend, he is Haitian, and I asked him, he was talking, me and him were talking about Moors and stuff like that, right? So, the Haiti was colonized by the French.
The French, yeah.
So I asked him, what's the word for brown? And he was like, he gasped. You know what I'm saying? Because it's connected to Moor, the word for brown. Just like in Spanish language, marrón is brown.
What is
Morale
booty?
is brown.
I thought brown was booty.
Huh?
Booty.
There's probably different words,
Okay.
different French for brown.
No, that was right. So Spanish brown.
It's marrón.
Maroon.
Marrón, yeah. Moro, I told the story before. My mom says a Moro, someone is referred to as a Moro who is not baptized as far as being brought into the Christian religion. So if you're not baptized, you're considered a quote unquote Moro. So what does that tell you? It means the people were Moors? Is that what you're trying to say before they were Christianized and were Moors?
Exactly.
We're trying to put two and two together here.
That makes you not want to get baptized, huh?
So all these words are related. Moralos is very interesting. Purple. So purple is dealing with
Going back to chapter 29, magistrate and scepter, thy clothed in purple.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? The throne. And that purple represents is a color of, going back to the Canaanites, Phoenician, that's the color that they created, which was the dye. And then you notice the king's garb was in what? Purple.
It also is related to melanin.
Melody.
Purple, brown, all melanin colors. Right, the purple.
Yes. They're going into the term Melchizedek, king of righteousness.
So I think that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson.
Thanks.
Maybe you can learn something.
Absolutely.
So, peace.
Peace.
Thank you for paying attention, listening, participating.
See you next week.
I don't know if I have enough. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. I will bring Grand Sheik of his location, or Nature El Bey, Islam.
Islam.
So, bless him, brother.
Islam.
Our lesson says that he has fitted us with language. And what does that do? According to the lesson, improve thy society. Islam. It's very important, Moors. And we have to, as Moors, definitely learn different languages so that we be able to communicate. You know, even for commerce purposes. You know, we got to be able to talk different languages, because here in this portion of America, you know, they refer to this as the Great Melting Pot. So that means that you have people migrating here from different areas, different lands. And if they're coming from a different land, they're going to have a different native tongue. You know, and also the other thing about not just them coming here, but today's economy, because we spoke about economy past couple of weeks, right?
Islam, teach.
Today's economy is going more foreign. It's international now. So, and it's going to become a time where if you don't talk with foreign languages, if you can't speak foreign languages, you won't be able to do commerce. You know, so a lot of different nations are studying different languages just for commerce purposes alone. Just like if someone is coming here from a Spanish-speaking country, they already taught before they come here how to traverse with the language. They might not be fluent when they get here, but they do learn the basics. Why? Because they can't come here and get a job in society if they can't conversate and speak the language here. So they already taught here. The so-called Arabs, they come here and they got to be able to talk the language, because they're coming here. They're not coming here to work for us. They come in here to serve us. They come in here to open up a business. So everybody comes here with a plan, with an agenda, a business plan. So they already come in, they know who they marketing, who their consumers going to be, and they got to talk the language of their consumers.
Security.
You know, so it's definitely economic security on their perspective, but we don't want to be, you know, the consumer. We don't want to just be the consumer and don't have understanding of this, because then we become subject to not just what we've been saying, the U.S. and all this, we become subject to everybody else. And really that's what the 14th Amendment was saying. We become subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It's not necessarily saying you're subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. You become subject to whoever's putting the claim on you. And really it's not the U.S. that's really putting the claim on us if we really understand the law. It's international bankers and foreign exchange.
That's right.
You know, so it's really not here. The market has always been across sea. So that's once again something we have to understand and learn in the future. Islam?
Islam.
So I'm going to bring up the next speaker. Sheik Shatik is going to come exercise his 5 senses and give us something else to nourish off of. Islam?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam family, before I get started, I want to give perfect praise and all glory to the Father God Allah. Thank the Father God Allah for these moments that I have to share with you. Give honor to the Prophet Noble Ali and all that he's brought us, that we should hold sacred and to teach, that we should all learn to love instead of hate. Now with that I say Islam, I say peace and blessings to my brothers and sisters online. I'm going to speak about, I'm just going to get right into the point. I'm going to speak about the proper conduct and the proper etiquette we should all display when we have this knowledge. I'm going to come from chapter 5. I'm going to start. I'm not going to read the whole excerpt of chapter 5, the whole chapter. I'm just going to start from one day as he, Jesus, was bringing forth the tools for the work, he said, "These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character. We use the square, to measure all our lines and to straighten out the crooked places along the way and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness at all times. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it until it is a part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough and uneven surfaces of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. We use the chisel line, the plummet, and the saw. All have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love. On it, we climb up to the dome of purity and life, which is what the Sheik was speaking about prior to. And on the 12th step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which is spent to build the temple of perfected man. Now, all this goes into our social duties, which the Sheik has been teaching for the past couple of weeks. It all ties into all of those beautiful things that was being said by him, by the Grand Sheik, and by all of those that has come up. The social duties of citizens, the social and civic duties of the citizens of all nations or parties in treaty have and possess a duty and a responsibility to be competent, clear, and specific to the truth and actuality of identifications of the parties in agreement. The natural people must be cognizant as to who is whom and are held to be diligent in their responsibilities to their civic and social duties. The officials, leaders, and administrators of what's this? Education or instruction are duly bound by virtue of their title positions of trust, going back into magistrate and subject, to assure that such related civic studies are orderly dispensed among the citizenry and such erudite competence is needed and necessary for their primal support and demonstrable application. The citizens of the nation should be well prepared to take their places among the affairs of men. Now, from that, I'm just gonna expound. We need to get our acts in order, Moors. We're out of order. We come here, we say that we are in studies, but yet we come late. That's not a part of the that's not a part of being true to the Moorish Science Temple's teachings. All things are done in time, because the reason why the Prophet said to start these meetings promptly is so that what we want to do spiritually can also work. Because all these things work hand in hand. They don't just work where I come, well, I got here 15, 20 minutes late, or I was supposed to do so, but I wait until the last minute. These things cannot happen. We must learn to do things in order and in fashion, because that's the only way that these things that's the only way that things are going to work out in our favor, like the Prophet set forth for us. He didn't start nothing late. When the Prophet stepped out to do what he had to do, he established it, and he moved on and established, and he established, and he established. He didn't get caught up in what other Moors are talking about. He didn't get caught up in what this one is doing. He got caught up in concentrate on what you're doing for your growth in helping this temple grow. This is on us, y'all. Nobody else. It's on us. we can't just look at, well, see, listen, I'm just going to put it on the line. When the Grand Sheik has already strived and bust his hump to get us a building, the least we can do is show him and show our love and appreciation to say that, well, this is ours. We're going to make it work. Then we take what we have and take it to those people that's sitting in these high places and put them in place where, like the Sheik said, exercise our social duties. Excuse me, I have the same speech impediment that Moses had. So I don't have Brother Aaron to speak for me. I'll speak for myself.
Teach, Mo. No, listen.
Now, I can't help it. I have to get into this here because it's hard to have the Circle 7 and not exercise it. Inconstancy. And we all have been inconstant, myself included. Nature urges thee to inconstancy, O man. Therefore, guard thyself at all times against it. Inconstancy, that is. Thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering, and from the loins of thy father thou inherit thy instability. How then shalt thou be firm? Well, thou shalt only be firm by recognizing that we have these character flaws that was inherited by our other male counterpart titled as father, because we both know scientifically mother and father are one and the same. There's no masculinity in the word mom and fat, or fatter or mater. It's just that men, we take on the title of father when we, as the Constitution says, take care of the duty in our household, and is known amongst the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful or father, because you take care of your household. You protect, and you take care and support. But mother and father are both one and the same. This is how your makeup is made. When you were born, you came out of her womb, not your dad's backside. So it's very, very, very important that we know our conduct and how to conduct ourselves, and mainly how to speak when we open up our mouths, and not get caught up in a lot of this here nonsense. And please, I can't urge this enough. Let's help our Grand Sheik. Let's help this temple be a great temple. We have the minds in here to do it. We have everything that we need. We just got to apply ourselves and make sure that we stand strong on our convictions and stand strong on what we stand for in this temple number 10. Let's build the character. Let's build our conduct.
Teach more.
Let's stop being stagnant. Please, let's stop being late. Let's learn to keep our words. These things are very important. They're all spiritually connected. This is the Constitution. All that's tied into the Constitution. If your word ain't right, you ain't right. If the prophet ain't right, then none of us is right. And we know that the prophet is definitely right. But I personally know it because I've tested it and tested it and tested it over and over again. And don't you know what? I came up successful over and over again. Can't nothing shake my faith. Nothing. But our characters must be intact in order for us even be of any kind of help in the temple for which we call our own. And with that, I say peace.
Peace.
Islam, Moor.
Islam.
Love.
Islam. Islam Moors, I kind of feeling the vibes here today. You know, letting every member exercise according to law. It's really the way it should be. You know, and also it gives everyone a chance to express themselves, and it makes you study more when you know you have to demonstrate a lesson. You know, because you want to try to be perfect on all subjects. You know, so you know if you're going to stand up and speak, and like the Prophet said, teach a group of Moors, you know, you got to come in defense of the Prophet and the movement.
That's right.
You know, because you're representing the Prophet when you stand up in his, you know, in his constitutional construct, in his temple, in his building, you know, and stand like him and represent like him. You know, that's something that's very challenging.
That's right.
You know, and I encourage those who have not yet done that to do it. You know, because it only makes you stronger.
Islam.
You know, so once again, we all have weaknesses, each and every one of us. That's part of how we were formed. So we have to correct our weaknesses. Don't just accept your weakness as this is how Allah made me, and this is just me. You have a weakness because it's your duty and your obligation to correct, to reverse your weakness. So the Prophet, the lessons tell us to exercise strength. So if you exercise strength, then you can overcome your weakness. The question becomes, do you want to overcome your weakness? You know, that becomes the real challenge, the real question. You know, and I'm assuming all of us should answer that question with clearness and power because we're here. And the whole mission on why you're here is because we thought our condition could be better. So we're not coming into this facility, in this building, into this movement because we think we know everything, or we think we perfect, or we coming to tell you something. We coming here because we think our condition could be better. So sometimes you gotta pull these things out if you know you have a speech problem. Like the brother said, I'm not relying on Aaron. I'm gonna demonstrate this myself. You understand? You gotta take that same attitude, that same approach to whatever weakness you might have and say, well, look, I'm gonna overcome this. And the only way to overcome it is by forcing attention to it. Now, don't worry about what others might think. You know, that's just the lower self coming out of you when you start having these type of teeming thoughts.
That's right.
So, a couple things I just want to go over while we have a little bit of time. I want to congratulate the mayor-elect for Asbury Park. And his name happens to be John Moore.
Oh.
His last name is Moore, spelt M-O-O-R. Now, I'm not congratulating him because of his name. I'm just congratulating him because he's won the election, as I would congratulate anyone who won. Islam.
Islam.
And also congratulating the other electees that ran and won. A team called Asbury Park Together was also won in the elections last week. And also others around the other parts of the state. Also Cory Booker won for U.S. Senate. And we just encourage whoever gets in position to do the best and the right thing, according to truth, according to what Brother Emmanuel spoke about, according to their obligation. Now, the oath of office is supposed to take place in January. So, John Moore happens to be a European. So, I'm asking the citizens, don't be discouraged by this. We had a brother, Raymond Palmer, who actually ran, and Sister Myra, Asiatics that ran, and they lost. So don't get discouraged because the people you elected didn't win, or people you chose did not win. We still have to show good sportsmanship, and we also have to get behind whoever our chosen representatives are. That's another challenge for us. that if someone that you didn't choose got into office, or the person that's in office, you don't agree with their position, that's a challenge for you and me and us as citizens to be proactive, to make sure that these people don't do something further that you disagree with. Because if you're active along the way, you can change the outcome of what they might do in the future. Just because they're in the seat don't mean it's over, or you have no vehicle or no voice to express yourself. There's still forums and still ways you can write these people. There's still a way to change their mind about certain things. So it's a challenge for us. We have to be proactive. And not just in Asbury Park, like I said, no matter where you're at. It's our duty as citizens. Islam, Brother Osman?
Islam, do you know if Rosetta Johnson won Asbury?
No, she didn't get it. She wasn't on that team.
No, she wasn't?
No. Islam. So with that being said, there's a few things that's going on right now, and I definitely want to be active and proactive, and I need the support of the Moors who are able to be active. Me and Brother Cliff had a conversation about this last week. You know, the elections was really a historical election. Not historical as something we should be proud of, but really historical because things changed this year. A lot of things changed this year. And just starting with John Moore being the mayor-elect. And I'm using that term because this is a legal and lawful term you need to know about as a citizen. Okay, Asbury Park last year just changed its policy on how they will elect a mayor. So John Moore is actually the first mayor-elect of Asbury Park, meaning that the prior elections was not elected through the citizens for the mayor position or the mayor's office. The mayors was chosen according to committee or council members in the past. It changed in 1953, and it went from 1953 to last year under that form of government. Not form of government, but that form of policy on how they elected certain people or chose certain people. And different governments around the country and around the world all function differently. Everybody has a different style of government. So even here in the United States of America, under Article 4, Section 4, we're guaranteed a republic form of government. Even under the republic form of government, each state still has the leisure to operate under their separate state's form of government. And this is part of the problem. But the reason why we have a representative government is because the people have more voice in who their chosen representatives are. This is why elections are so important and so powerful. So what this brother, John Moore, being a European, he actually becomes the first mayor-elect of Asbury Park. So they are considering Asbury Park's elections this year to be historical because this person becomes the first mayor-elect. Means that he was elected through the elections of the people, not through the commission or the council anymore. So that changed things a little bit. It's actually better to have an election for the mayor, which a lot of the cities around the state still do have that. But now, being that it was the first for us here in Asbury Park, it was very important that the brothers, especially the Asiatics, should have took their place amongst the affairs of men. This is one thing that they, you know how, like we spoke about last week, where our brothers, they say, oh, we don't get into politics, or we ain't dealing with that, or I ain't voting, I can care less about that. They're going to do what they want to do. Well, they've been doing what they want to do, but according to their policy, they was able to do what they wanted to do. Now they're willing to change things and give you an opportunity to voice your opinion, and you saying you don't want to, you're not interested in it. That's a problem. So that's part of our job here in the Moor Science Temple, is to educate our members our citizens, our fellow citizens, our Asiatics, our brothers, etc., on their social duties.
Teach me.
We can't just talk about our social duties here in the temple. It's not just about us, because the work is outside the door. We just come here to talk about how we should approach matters.
Teach.
But really, once we leave here, we're supposed to go out here with a plan and execute that plan. Brother Osman, I didn't forget about you. What you
Islam.
need?
That mayor name made me make me think of something. I seen a movie one time with the previous mayor name was something like Thomas Jefferson, and this black dude, his Asiatic brother, came up and said he's gonna change his name to Thomas Jefferson, run for mayor. And since people reckon his name, they elected him. Now, in Asbury, there's been a man by the name of John Moor, an Asiatic brother, very popular in the community, recreation and things like that,
Well, John Moore is a European.
I'm talking about Asiatic brother named
Oh, right.
John Moore
All right.
in Asbury Park.
Uh-huh.
And it might influence that something. I really don't know.
All right. Islam, thank you for that note. Islam. And yes, absolutely. And in this, like I said, this some symbolism in this. There's probably some science and, some history behind this. And that's something that we should investigate as well. He didn't just pop up out the blue. He sat as a council member the previous years. So he's already been around in the city doing work, and they know him. He's no stranger to Asbury Park. But there's a lot of things going on here in Asbury Park, Morris, that we got to really concern ourselves with. Some of us might not live directly here in Asbury Park, so it might not concern you directly, but I mean, for those who are affected by Asbury Park, there's some things that could be done a little bit better if we just get our people more interested. It's the biggest city in the area. Yes, absolutely. Let me touch on that. Thank you. So once again, there's some things that we might take interest in. But one thing also pertaining to this, don't forget, when the people choose their representatives, remember the power is in the people. We always said that, and we know that that's organic law within this form of government here. Chosen representatives. But when you're given, we use the term birthright. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Right? Outside of birthrights, we know we got substantive rights. All right? So they'll say that one of our rights as a citizen, this is what they tell us, that one of our rights as being a quote-unquote an American citizen is the right to vote. You got a right to do a lot of things. But they will say that you're protected. That right to vote is protected. That right to vote is guaranteed to you because you're a citizen. As long as you're a citizen, that's guaranteed. So they will pick and choose what rights they want to guarantee to you and what rights that they want to ignore or question you about. So be cognizant that we reserve all our rights. But it's not just a speech. It's not just a statement. Don't just say that because you're really concerned about one right that you're trying to pursue. When you say you reserve all your rights, you got to make sure that you try to preserve that and practice that. So don't just talk about rights when it's something that you're trying to get somebody to acknowledge, like the right to do this, the right to taxation, the right to travel, the right. Don't just pick and choose what right you wanna highlight. As a citizen, collectively, we're affected about one. This is one of the biggest rights we have is the right to vote. Because if we have improper representation, then that affects all of our rights. So you got to look at the right to vote as one of your priority rights that you want to preserve. And we as Asiatics just take that lightly and don't even exercise that. And that really stands in the way of a lot of other rights that come behind that. And just keep that in mind, how important that is. And I know most of us in here know that, but I'm talking about outside these doors. We have to, our job is to educate them. If you see people who are nonchalant about voting and things like that, you got to step to them and say, look, man, that's just not acceptable. You know, you're in a position to vote, you need to vote, man, because look, you're a citizen, and this is your social duty. This is your job as a citizen, regardless of what you call yourself, regardless of what religion you claim. This is America. We have an American Constitution that we need to protect and we need to serve. Simple as that. And if you're not voting or casting no ballot, then you're in the way. And you can't be afraid to talk to people like that. It could be your cousin, friend, sister, whoever. You can't be afraid to step to people like that because it's unlawful really not to vote. It's unlawful. And the prophet, it's disrespectful to the prophet because he had to go through hoops to make sure that right for us to vote, not just as a citizen, but under our free national name. He made it possible that we can cast a ballot under our free national name. Under the state's constitution, he said. And he said, not as a granted privilege, which has been for many generations. That's science, that's law, and that's dedication. I know that probably like went over some of our heads. But that's deep what he was talking about. To cast a ballot in your free national name under the state's constitution. And I probably can count on our fingers, and I know they got records of this, because everybody who cast a ballot, they got record of that. It would be embarrassing if they actually sent us a copy of how many people actually cast a ballot in their free national name. It'll be embarrassing. It'll be very embarrassing. So the prophet made these statements and did these things 100 years ago. And for us 100 years later to still not doing what he asked us to do, it's sad and it's embarrassing. And then we want to talk about reserving some rights and talk law. And in government, the affairs of men, like the prophet said, those who know law, they be looking at us like, well, what are you doing? You want to sit here and talk about due process and reserving your rights, but where you been at? What are you doing? You're not even active. So even though they still got an obligation because it's the law, but you got to understand how they really can look at you and look at us as a whole and say, well, you want me to honor a right that you claiming, but you're not even honoring your own obligation, your own rights. You forcing me to honor my obligation and my oath of office, but you're not doing yours. And we got to really look at that across the board. You know, and that's my job, where I'm not really interested in talking about nothing else. I'm going to really address these issues because that's the only thing that I can do within my jurisdiction is just to make sure that whoever that I congregate with understand these principles and try to be proactive on that measure. I can't change and control what anybody else is doing. But I'm saying that, you know, me and my wife, we was down there. And they know we was there. And that's definitely on the record. You know, that's for the record. Islam? Islam.
It's profound because the prophet said in the divine warning, he said, through your free national name, you are recognized by the government of the world. And through your free national name, you are recognized by the government of the world, which are recognized according to the same government in which they live in. And he also said that about you, he said, those who are, if a man is born and raised and fails to give his free national name, he is misused, imprisoned, and exiled. So that goes back to the bill that was passed in regards to depriving the so-called citizens of the right to bail. You know what I'm saying? So that's, without your free national name by name and principle, they are able to pass legislation that's unconstitutional because you're not part of the people. You know what I'm saying? The government must be expressing the will of the people. And by you being a citizen, you must know your rights. Islam.
Islam. And also, so once again, look into these measures, and if you're in another city, then also look into what policies and things that they may have. And I want to plead to us that we get proactive with going down to the city meetings and getting more involved with what's going on, and also on the county level as well. The chosen freeholders, that was also a time where they were elected as well, and they have a lot of influence over what goes on in our affairs. You know, you got to understand, we are freeholders by inheritance.
Islam.
Truth A1.
Islam.
And that's something that active Moors advocate.
Islam.
And we put that on our documents, on our proclamations, and we're saying that we are the freeholders, the true freeholders. But now, yes, organically speaking, but we're not lately, because we're not acting in a freeholder capacity.
Islam.
And the freeholders are the ones that has the jurisdiction and claim an interest over the affairs of the county, over the land, and whatever assets the land has. So that's who the freeholders are. But we're saying we're freeholders by inheritance, and we have no clue on what's going on the county level. Like you just said, the prophet says, you know, you got to take your place amongst the affairs of men, and he says that you got to proclaim your free national name within the government in which you live.
Because it's recognized.
So you got to look at the government in which you live is the county government. That's the only government in which you live. So that's where the freeholders come in at, and you got to understand the sheriff, it's another electoral office. These things we got to be directly have influence over more. If you're not, then we're not really acting out our true social duties. Outside of just thinking morally, we still got a physical responsibility with that. That's all important. It's not very important.
Also, real quick, Article 6, Section 2 says the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And all the judges are bound to that supreme law of the land. Anything notwithstanding anything contrary to that is notwithstanding. So the very fact that they were able to pass this legislation was unconstitutional. And by virtue of the fact that we're not obligated to hold them to the trust that was appointed upon them, we get what we deserve. We get what we deserve. We're not obliging ourselves to the authority that was placed upon us. So the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So therefore, in order for it to be just, we must enforce that.
Islam. Also, another heartbreaking event within this year's election, they proposed that amendment of the Constitution, and they put it up to the citizens to take a vote on it. And this is something that I've been warning us about. And it was two proposals, and they both passed. So the citizens just agreed to, through consent, with this year's ballot, to allow them to amend the Constitution of the state of New Jersey to deny the inmates bail. And this is something we've been talking about, Morris. So they didn't just do what they would usually do and just put a policy in place and pass something without our consent. What they did was they put it out there to you and said, this is going to be in your ballot. But the problem is our brothers ain't there. The ones that's really affected by this, like, I don't plan on going to jail. But like I said, that's not why I'm involved in it. It doesn't matter if I'm going to jail or not. It affects the Constitution. It affects the spirit of the Constitution. That's why I'm involved. But the people who, just say for example, the people who in the street up to no good. Let's just talk about them. The ones who might need this in the near future. They don't want to deal with politics, they say. They ain't interested. And they're the first ones that should have been down there voting against it. Because they know that, you know, you do dirt, you get dirt. Right? That's the lingo. So you out there doing something, you already know you better put up some money for bail. But now, it's discretionary. Just because you didn't want to be involved in politics. Or you don't get into that. Or your group don't really talk about that, so you ain't worried about it. Or it's not in the book, so you don't want to give attention to it. Or it's not a part of your religion. Come on, Moss. That's not being a citizen. Look, they affected the spirit. They took a shot, as they always have done, to the spirit of the Constitution. And now that that's passed, and who knows what's next? And once again, we can't just talk about it within closed doors. We got to be down there on the line. We got to be at the meetings. We got to be putting this to the pen, writing the different representatives and letting them know that, look, this is unacceptable. Like I tell you, our Governor Christie, he's been pushing for this for 2 years. For 2 years he's been pushing for this. So we had 2 years to plan for this, Moor, and prepare. We could have put more effort into changing the people's mind. Like the lesson says, in order to change the people's mind, you must first change their literature, right? We have no literature, and I'm guilty myself. All the literature we produce, we didn't produce any literature pertaining to this issue, which that's an error on my part that I'm feeling some type of way over, because that's something that I immediately could have took some action over. At least I would have felt more at peace with myself if I've known I've done all I can do. But really, I didn't do all I can do on this subject. So more, you got to take that same approach. I talked to Brother Clifford about this last week, and it's just certain things we do, more is just not acceptable. Islam.
Just real quick, it's so important because whether we realize it or not, that bill that was passed violated your substantial rights. Because Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution says you have the right to the immunities and privileges of all citizens of all the 7 states. And that's immunity. By you being able to grant bail, that's immunity that was given to you by your substantial rights. By virtue of the fact that we didn't go and vote against that, you just waived that.
Absolutely. Even if you didn't like who was running in the race, if you would have just went down there just for that, just to say, no, I don't agree with them amending the Constitution. If that's the only thing you did, then you would have did some justice. You follow what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't know it even it exists. They have a clue. They don't have a clue what we're talking about. Some people are just lazy. I don't feel like going down there. I got off work late today. I ain't going down there. Come on, more. Is this all we want out of citizenship? If that's the case, why are we even here? Like the prophet said, if you're not going to do nothing with this, turn in your card, turn in your button. He says, cease wearing the turban of fez. And what he said, go back to the state where I found you. If you're not going to do, I'm talking to all of us plural. If we're not going to do anything with more science, then there's no sense of even pretending that we wise in doing any of this. We might as well just stay in the state and just accept or just say that you're black and just keep it real. Because other than that, that's how they're going to view us. They're not going to have any respect for the movement or the organization if the people who's representing it don't take a stand.
Right.
That's simple as that. Islam?
Islam.
Any questions, any statements on that? Islam.
Islam. I just want to let you know, Bill of Rights says that power is not delegated to Congress, power is not delegated to Congress by the Constitution or behavior is reserved for the states of the people. So by virtue of the fact that you don't take advantage of the granted privilege of voting, you're depriving you of that right as well.
Islam. Also, once again, take that message to somebody else. Whoever you talking to, whoever your co-workers are, whoever you be around during the week, don't just be subject to what they want to talk about or what they doing. If they don't want to talk, at least give you a couple minutes to hear this, then they ain't worth talking to. I'm gonna be honest with you, because they're part of the problem. Just like at one time we was part of the problem, and I'm sure somebody tried to kick to us some information about some knowledge and consciousness, and we didn't want to hear it. We was the problem back then. So once again, you already know how it is, because we all came from that state. But just like somebody was strict with you on that, something had to overturn your mind. Somebody had to stay on you about it. It was something that made you think that, look, I need to look further into this.
Islam.
You know, so remember that and take that same approach on turning somebody else that you love in your heart into the right direction. There's a way to do it. It's a challenge for you, but be an adept. It's a way to do it, especially if it's coming from your household. Because, like I said, if we have an inconsistency within the household, then we got an issue. No matter how intelligent, spiritual that we say we are, if we got a divided house, then we're not at peace. It can't be, because the vibration is not right. You know, so we have to be in harmony. We have to be, a member's interest should only be in one direction. You know, and once again, if it's truth, it's universal. It don't matter what language you come in. It's like Brother Emmanuel just demonstrated. Don't matter what language you're talking about or how you pronounce it. If you say Ray, it don't matter. It's still Bey to me. So it doesn't matter how you say it. The intent has to be right. You got to be sincere about it. And if it's truth, it's truth. It's universal. Islam. So once again, we don't get caught up into that. We follow after truth, and that's it. You know, and be wise about it. Don't be like the fool. Something come to you, you give it some type of ear, you investigate it. And if it's truth, you go with the truth. If it's falsehood, then you just leave it where it be. But don't claim you know everything. Take it and investigate it. Because man knows not by being told. Islam, so that will end today's meeting. I thank everybody for their attention and their participation. Islam.
Islam.
We do have some nourishment, and we ask that everybody support the uplifting fund and also the food drive, because sisters are actually working very hard and diligently to make sure that we have some proper nourishment here on every Sunday. Islam, so that takes work, but it also takes finance. So actually whatever you put to support actually goes into that finance right now. So we just ask that you support. If you want a bigger meal, if you want a healthier meal, then we ask that you just put in more support. Islam?
Islam.
So that's how we doing. That's, you know, that's justice to me. Just being fair. You know, it's what you put in determines what you get out. So if you don't put nothing in, don't be looking to get something out. That's just the way it works. That's justice. Islam. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out, and then the sisters, y'all can take the collection. All right, we'll just close out. Islam. So we ask all members rise and face the east. I ask Brother Osmo to lead us with the closing prayer, if he will.
Islam.
Islam.
May Allah.
May Allah
bind our hearts and minds.
bind our hearts and minds
Back to our ancient forefathers.
back to our ancient forefathers.
Divine creed principles.
Divine creed and principles.
This we ask.
This we ask.
In thy holy name.
In thy holy name.
And the seven Elohim.
And the seven Elohim.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam.
Greet your brothers and
Islam.
sisters
Thank you, Morris.
with peace
Meeting
and
is
love.
now
Love.
closed.
Islam.